guys, so this is definitely going to be a different kind of video, and I've actually started this video already and was talking for about 10 minutes, and I didn't like the way that it was going, and it just wasn't coming across the way that I wanted it to, and it's probably still not going to come across the way that I want it to, or everything that I want to talk about. And I'm probably going to be leaving out stuff and being all over the place as usual because I'm a scatterbrained person and I can never get my thoughts together, and I probably should have some notes with me, but I definitely wanted this to be a raw kind of video sharing my true feelings. I didn't want it to be scripted in any way or going off any notes. I just wanted my feelings to flow, and when I was filming this about 20 minutes ago, it just wasn't coming out the way that I wanted it to. It was just, and I don't even know where this video is gonna go. It's kind of a very impromptu video, but not at the same time, because I've been thinking about making this video for a really long time now, and it's been really weighing on my heart a lot lately, and I don't know if it's the right time. It might not ever be the right time to talk about this, but something's telling me and pulling at me to finally talk about it after almost 3 years of dealing with this. And just, I want to say probably one of the biggest secrets that is in my life, or does that make sense? One of the biggest secrets in my life. One of the biggest secrets that I've kept from a lot of people is what I'm trying to say. Only a handful of people know about what I've been going through for the past 3 years, and I think it's just now time to talk about it, even though I am scared shitless and I'm feeling very anxious and vulnerable right now. And I'm probably not going to say everything the right way or how I want it to come across, but that's just what's gonna just have to be for this video, and I hope you guys understand. A lot of people might be scratching their heads right now like, Brittany, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Don't worry, you guys, I'm okay. It's just something that I really just need to talk about and get off my chest and share with you guys. I've kept it bottled in for so long, so I'm hoping by the end of this video I will feel like a weight has lifted off my shoulders, or maybe I won't, I don't know, but I'm just not gonna keep talking. I'm just gonna go right into the video. All right, so where do I even start? I don't even know where I would start. I guess I can start the beginning of all of this, or how it came about. So back in the end of October of 2013, is that right? 2013? Yes, the end of October 2013, I noticed that I was, and I actually can remember the specific day where I feel like a lot of this started, which I will get to in a minute, but I kind of want to just talk about how I got there. I noticed I was experiencing some different or off symptoms with myself. I noticed that I couldn't think clearly. It felt like this cloud was surrounding my brain. Like, that's the best way that I could describe to Ian and my dad. This is actually the only two people I really talked to it about, was my dad and Ian. I just felt like this huge dark cloud was around my brain. I couldn't think clearly. I just couldn't focus. I couldn't do daily things. I just couldn't focus. And I noticed it starting getting worse and worse, to where I was having this brain fog. And actually, brain fog is a real thing. It's a real, I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's like considered a real diagnosis, but brain fog is a real thing out there. You can look it up and Google it if you want to. But the symptoms I was having coincided a lot with brain fog. So that's what I thought I had. But it got to the point where it wasn't getting better. And I'm not the type of person to go to the doctor right away, unless it's like an emergency, of course. But I'm the type of person, like, I kind of want to see if I can deal with it myself and then go to the doctor if it doesn't get better. Now, obviously, if it's a life-threatening issue or something, then that's a different story. But since this was kind of minor in my eyes of not being able to focus, having the brain fog, I thought it wasn't, you know, that big of a deal, and maybe just as time would go by that everything would get better. But it didn't, and it got to the point where it got progressively worse, and to the point where I was crying every day, all day because of this. I just couldn't focus. I couldn't, at the time, this was before I was pregnant with Nolan, but it got to the point where I couldn't take care of Aria the way that I wanted to. It was getting in the way of just everything. And then it just kind of put me in this depression. And I've had depressed moments. I shouldn't say moments, but you know, as a teenager, and you know, teenagers can be diagnosed with depression, but you know how you experience things as a teenager and you kind of put in this depression and you're super depressed. I've always kind of looked at depression like that, like it's just kind of like this phase that you go through. I didn't really understand it, but experiencing this, it kind of put me into a depression, and I just felt helpless. I didn't feel adequate. I didn't feel like I could do what I needed to do. I really don't even know how to explain it. And at that time, I couldn't focus. So a lot of these details I can't remember because everything was just like this one big, that's why it's called brain fog, because it's just like this one big fog. I can't remember a lot of what happened, but I just remember calling Ian one day at work and just crying on the phone. I remember I just could not stop crying and just saying, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't take care of Aria. I can't focus. And it was just, it gotten really bad. And he's like, Brittany, you need to go to the doctors. You definitely need to go to the doctors. And this, I don't remember if I was pregnant with Nolan when I was going through these crying spells, or I shouldn't say crying spells. See, I don't even know if I'm using the right words, but I remember, I can't remember if it was after I found out I was pregnant with Nolan or right before. I don't know, but it went on for 2 months because I didn't go to the doctors until the beginning of January. So this was something that went on for 2 months, and I eventually was like, I've had enough. And by this time, of course, I was pregnant with Nolan, and I was like, you know what? I need to take care of myself. I need to see what is going on. So I did go to my doctor the beginning of the January, and let me back up a little bit. Within those 2 months, I was trying everything to feel better. I was taking vitamins, like daily vitamins. I was trying to eat super healthy, drink a lot of water. I was just trying to take care of my body, because if you're giving your body those nutrients and taking care of your body, it helps your brain, but nothing was helping. It was actually getting worse, like I said. So I eventually went to the doctor at the beginning of January and talked to her about everything I was experiencing, and that's when she suggested to me depression. Like everything that I was explaining seemed like it was pointing towards depression. And like I was saying before, I've always been kind of ignorant when it comes to depression. I mean, I know of it, but at that point I didn't really think that it was like a, I don't know how to explain it. I didn't think that it could ever happen to me, and that it was something that is like a lifelong illness, is what I'm trying to say, or mental illness. So I did get evaluated, and beginning of January I was diagnosed with depression, and I do have mild to moderate, more so moderate depression. And never, I feel like I'm already like jumping into this right now, like just talking about it. Let me go back to the end of October when I was telling you guys about the exact day. I remember the exact day we went to the pumpkin patch with Aria. She was a year and a half at that time. And I just want to say that I don't blame Aria for this. So please, as I'm explaining this, do not think that that's what I'm trying to say. But I remember that day she was very hard to handle. It was very bad. Aria's always been very strong-willed, independent. I've said this from the beginning. She's very strong-willed, and I just remember I couldn't control her, and everything was just spiraling out of control. You know those moments as a parent, your kid is acting up and you just feel like everything is spiraling. You can just feel yourself losing patience and you just want to like run away. That's how I was feeling. And I just remember after that day, that's when the cloud came. And like I said, I am not blaming this at Aria. After learning about depression, it's something that can be very hidden a good majority of your life, and then something could happen and it could just surface. It's something that's just within you, and it can just come up at any day, or just not even have anything going on, you know, specifically in your life, and it can just come out of nowhere. And being that my family, both sides of my family, have a history of depression, I have figured out that it is a genetic thing, and like I said, it could just be under the surface, and then just something will spark it and it can come to surface. So I feel like that's what happened with me. And like I said, I don't think what happened with Aria has anything to do with, I don't blame Aria for the depression at all, but I do think that being that I was a young parent at 19, and yes, there are plenty of teenagers at 19 that can handle kids and not deal with depression, but I feel like since this was a thing that was within me, maybe just not at the surface at the moment, that the stress of being a young parent and everything being new did bring it to surface, if that makes sense. I hope that I'm making sense with what I'm saying, but I just remember from that day on just having a hard time and experiencing parenthood for the first time, and being that Aria was just so strong-willed, so independent, wanted to do everything on her own. It's just very, I will be honest, very hard to handle. I feel like that had a lot to do with it. And to be honest, I'm kind of thankful that it did happen sooner than later on in life. I'm glad that everything that happened the way that it did happen, because now I'm able to understand and deal with it. So going back to January, I did get evaluated for depression. Like I said, I was diagnosed with depression, and it was kind of, I don't remember the exact details, like I said, because I was still going through this brain fog, brain cloud. But I do remember like there was several appointments before leading up to the diagnosis, and then eventually getting prescribed antidepressants for my depression. All right guys, so I had to take a little bit of a break to kind of like clear my head and get my thoughts together more. So I know everybody is different when they get diagnosed with depression or any kind of illness. They take it different ways, but for me, in my case, I almost felt relieved because I had gotten to the bottom of what was going on. I wish I could express to you guys the 2 months of hell that I went through, and I'm telling you guys, it was hell. I felt like I was incapable, worthless. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't focus, and I really thought that whatever chemical imbalance that was going on in my head, that this is how I was gonna feel and deal with the rest of my life. And that is, I feel like, what even drove me into a deeper and deeper depression. I can't even tell you guys that those 2 months was probably the worst my depression has ever been. And then on top of that, being pregnant, it was very, very, very hard. And if you guys can remember back at that time, I was very, very thin. I got down to 118. I just remember like not wanting to eat. I didn't want to do anything. I can't express to you guys enough how bad those 2 months were. So I hope I'm not coming across desensitized to that situation or like nonchalant about it, because it was a very serious time. But it's not something I like to think about or relive or talk about, so that's why I kind of was very broad about it. But when I was diagnosed with depression, it was almost a relief, like, yes, we finally found out what is going on. And like I said, I did get prescribed antidepressants, and I was just so happy to finally feel normal again when I started taking the medication. And the thing about the medication is sometimes it could start working right away for some people, or it could take a few weeks or a month or more to start working. And the thing about antidepressants, it doesn't get rid of your mental illness, it only suppresses it. So it will always be there. I will always have depression for the rest of my life. It will be a mental illness that I deal with every single day. The medicine is just there to suppress it and make you be able to function like a normal human being. So the fact that the medication was working, I didn't like that I had to be on an antidepressant, or I have to be for the rest of my life, but I just wanted to feel normal again. I just remember talking to Ian, like, I just want to feel normal. But the thing about it is, this is what I've been dealing with for almost 3 years now, and I will never feel normal. I still don't feel normal, and I still deal with this on a day-to-day basis. It still affects my life. It affects me as a parent. It affects the relationships around me. I hope I'm not coming off nonchalant about this or desensitized. It's just something that I've dealt with for so long now, and it's just something I'm used to and I've kind of accepted. Even though it sucks and I have my bad days and my good days, I've come to accept it as a part of my life. The reason why I guess I haven't really wanted to talk about it or come out about it, and why I've kind of kept it a secret for so long, is because I feel like when you tell people that you're suffering from depression or any kind of mental illness, anxiety, anything, they don't take it as seriously unless they're going through it themselves. Like, people who have never been diagnosed with a mental illness will never understand what someone goes through every single day. They can't relate to it. They'll never understand. And that's fine. There's a lot of things that I don't understand as well. So that is why I've kind of kept it a secret, because I know a lot of people think it's something you can shake off or just be happy. Like, why can't you just be happy? Or, you know, why can't you just feel normal? Like, just shake it off. Just, you know, it's not something that you can shake off. It's not something that you can get rid of. It's not something that will just go away. Mental illness will stay with you for the rest of your life. And it's something that I didn't want anybody looking at me side-eyed like, is she doing okay? How's Britney doing? Like, she has kids, are her kids okay? Or, you know, I just didn't want anybody in the family or friends or YouTube looking at me in that kind of way. And I will say, and I will put this out here, I'm very fortunate enough, and I say fortunate loosely, because even though I do have depression, and that's not a fortunate situation, I've never had suicidal thoughts. I've never tried to hurt myself or hurt my kids. It's crazy because I have depression, but I don't have postpartum depression. I'm totally fine throughout postpartum. I don't ever have any thoughts of hurting myself or my children or anything like that. So I'm very, very fortunate when it comes to this. But I do thank my medication for a lot of that. So if I wasn't on medication, I don't know if I would have postpartum depression, but it just seems like after having a baby that doesn't affect me as much. I feel like I'm the same as I always am. It never gets progressively worse is what I'm trying to say. But I feel like looking back after having Aria, I could have been experiencing postpartum depression and just didn't know it. That's the thing about depression. A lot of people suffer through it day to day, and they don't know that they have it, and they don't get help for it, and they just kind of brush it by, and then it just gets worse and worse. Like, for me, those 2 months just kept getting worse and worse, and eventually I was like, I have to go to the doctor, and I'm so thankful that I did.